Fiona and I were in love for 6 years, but in the end, she couldn't move past her first love. Fiona, my wedding is next week. Wanna come? I asked. She froze for a moment and then said, Samuel, our wedding next week is too rushed. Plus I'm on a business trip. How about we wait until I get back? I smiled and said, sure. But she didn't know I was actually getting married next week, and the bride wasn't her. 6 years ago, I was the shining star on campus, not only good looking but also at the top of my class, not to mention my enviable family background. My folks ran a successful company, and my grandpa had an important position in the military. I was without a doubt a lucky kid born with a silver spoon. Fiona, though, wasn't the kind of stunning beauty that catches your eye instantly, but she had this gentle charm you just couldn't ignore. We first met in a book-filled library. That day, she was with her boyfriend Jimmy, picking up some books just as I was leaving. At that moment, we crossed paths by chance and I accidentally bumped into her. Oh, I'm really sorry. I quickly apologized, my voice a bit flustered. It's okay, just be careful next time. She smiled back softly, a tone that made your heart skip a beat. I hurried away but faintly heard Jimmy joke behind me. Don't be too gentle, or they'll all fall for you. I only love you, she replied lovingly. In that moment, a wave of inexplicable envy filled me, as if I was caught up in their sweetness, and sparked a desire for romance in me. But just a month later, Fiona showed up out of the blue and confessed to me. I was so shocked I dropped my pen, couldn't believe what I just heard. What did you say? I asked in disbelief. She repeated, Samuel, I want you to be my boyfriend. I stood there stunned, finally blurting out, are you crazy? Before storming off. Since then, she waited outside the dorm every day, carrying carefully prepared breakfasts for me. Despite throwing them away repeatedly, she never gave up. My roommates teased, Samuel, she's really into you, isn't she? What else could it be? Bringing breakfast and gifts daily sounds like love to me, they pressed. I just chuckled. Don't you remember? Her real boyfriend is Jimmy. But my friends dropped a bombshell. Jimmy had dropped out after being caught with another girl by Fiona. My heart sank, so, I'm just a rebound? Winter eventually came. Fiona kept bringing those warm breakfasts each day. After months of her persistence, it'd be a lie to say I wasn't touched. But I couldn't accept being a stand-in for someone else. That day, as she was about to leave, I finally mustered the courage to stop her. Fiona. She paused. Her eyes lit up with hope. Samuel, are you saying yes? I looked her in the eyes and asked, Fiona, I don't want to be anyone's stand-in. I'm just Samuel. She tightly held my hand. Samuel, you're unique. It's you that I like. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. In that moment, I decided to give her a chance and give myself a chance too. I told her if she showed me in the coming month, I'd become her boyfriend. 2 months later, we officially became a couple, and I was seen by everyone as lucky in love. Yet deep down, I remained conservative mainly due to my family background. Even though we were in love, when it came to marriage, I always kept that boundary. But it seemed like it was all in my head. She never came close during those 6 years. She never stayed in the same room as me. Over those years, I quietly walked behind her and watched her grow from a naive girl into a mature woman. Every late night, I'd always ask, Fiona, when will we get married? And she'd vaguely reply with work-related reasons, saying everything would fall into place eventually. And so the days passed, year after year, as I patiently held on to dreams of our future together. 6 years came and went without a clear answer from her. Every evening, sitting alone by the window and watching distant lights flicker, I felt an indescribable emptiness. Today marks our 6-year anniversary. She once said she'd always remember this date. I prepared a lavish dinner and a carefully chosen gift, waiting quietly for her to come home. But 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock went by, for whole hours. Not a call, not even a single text. With my phone in hand, just as I was about to dial her number, a message popped up. You've followed her for 6 years. It's about time to let go. My heart raced as I replied, Who are you? Samuel, want to know who I am? Let me satisfy your curiosity. Then, 5 photos appeared on my phone. I opened them one by one, and, in that moment, my breathing stalled. In the photos, Fiona and Jimmy were together, kissing and holding each other, even doing some intimate things. How about now? Remember? See? She still loves me, the message taunted. They're just pictures. You heard her first, I replied. Then listen to this next bit. An audio clip played. Fiona, who matters more, me or Samuel? Silly. Guess who? You'll always be my favorite. And Samuel? He's not as important as you. Now be good and give me a kiss. The phone slipped from my grasp, tears streaming down my face. If you don't believe me, head to Moonlight Bar, Suite 202. Half an hour later, I walked to that familiar bar. I've been here countless times, picking up a drunken Fiona and taking her home. Deep down, I kind of already knew the answer. The feeling was unspeakably bitter. The door to the suite was slightly ajar, and just as I was about to enter, I heard their conversation. I paused, hiding around the corner. Fiona, it's been 6 years. You're really tough and seem to have some big plans. Her best friend, Angela, joked. Fiona raised an eyebrow and said, if it wasn't for Samuel's family background, do you think I would have left Jimmy? I was struck, listening in disbelief to everything. Fiona heard it too. Samuel's grandfather is a big deal at the military base, and his parents' business is top-notch in J City. Jimmy, that was Jimmy's voice. In that moment, I realized it all. Fiona and Jimmy never really broke up. I wiped away my tears and turned to leave. Fiona, you really pulled it off. Back at the apartment, I dumped the carefully prepared dinner and all those heartfelt gifts straight into the trash. Looking at that pile of abandoned items, my heart felt like it was soaked in vinegar, sour and bitter. I had clearly given my heart to the wrong person. After pulling myself together, I walked into the bedroom and called the number that always brought me warmth, Grandpa's. His voice came on quickly, as calm and reassuring as ever. Who's this? Oh, it's my sweet grandson. What's up, missing Grandpa today? My eyes welled up. Yeah, I miss you and Mom and Dad. What happened? Did someone upset you? Tell Grandpa who it is, and I'll go teach them a lesson. Grandpa, remember you said there's a beauty in the army, one of your soldiers? Has she gotten married yet? I tried to change the subject. Not yet. She's picky. Doesn't care for any of the guys in the unit. But when I mentioned you, she said she'd like to meet. Grandpa chuckled. Then let's meet, Grandpa. I think I'm ready to settle down. I said softly. Grandpa seemed a bit surprised. What about your girlfriend? We broke up. We weren't right for each other, I replied briefly. Grandpa seemed to understand, his tone growing softer. Samuel, if you ever feel tired out there, just come back home. Grandpa will always be your strongest support. Thanks, Grandpa. I'll be back in J City soon, by the day after tomorrow at the latest. In the quiet of the night, just as 1 struck, Angela's call came in as expected. Samuel, Fiona's drunk. Can you come pick her up? Same old place. I smirked, thinking, here we go again. Angela, I'm not feeling well today. Have Fiona stay with you for the night. After a pause, she said, all right then. I'll send her home tomorrow. After hanging up, I gathered all the clothes and gifts Fiona had given me into a big bag and tossed them in the trash, not regretting a thing. Back inside, I took a hot shower, put on some comfy pajamas, and lay down in bed. Reflecting on the past 6 years, I felt like a fool easily played by her, and it was laughable. I changed my social media profile picture and nickname and blocked my timeline as if to cut ties with the past. The next morning, when I opened my eyes, I saw Fiona at the foot of my bed, looking at me with guilt. I frowned, my voice a bit hoarse. When did you get back? Just now, Fiona lowered her head. Samuel, I'm sorry about last night. It wasn't intentional. I'll make it up next Sunday. Suppressing the disgust inside, I forced a smile. It's okay. You're so busy with work. Little things like this don't bother me. Her eyes lit up. Samuel, look. She showed me a watch she bought for me. Try it on. I took it and said lightly, how about you help me with it next week? Who cares about your stuff? This watch is probably something Jimmy rejected. Okay. She agreed, then went to shower and change. Leaving, she kissed my forehead like usual, and I kissed her cheek. Come back soon. Once she was gone, I went to the bank, withdrew cash, and canceled our joint account. Next, I stopped by a phone shop, picked a new SIM card, and bought a new phone, gearing up for a fresh start. With everything in place, I called my buddy Philip to meet up at a cafe. What? You're leaving? Where to? Philip was shocked. I gently tapped his hand, signaling him to stay calm and sit down. I'm going back to J City. It's my home, my real place. And you and Fiona? He hesitated. What was between us might have been a mistake from the start. It's time to go back to where we each belong. Looking out the window, there was a bitterness in my eyes. Did she do something to wrong you? Philip was frustrated. I paused. Why do you say that? You're too trusting with her. When she went on her trip, I saw her at a hotel with some guy. Philip told me quietly. A chill ran through me. And then, they stayed a long while before leaving, and she'd even changed her clothes, his voice sympathetic. As the coffee cooled in my hand, I stirred it, watching the ripples mirror my swirling emotions. Philip's words cut like a dull knife across my heart, leaving an indelible mark. Trying to stay collected, I asked, "Are you sure it was her?" Philip nodded, worried. I only caught a glimpse, but I know her too well. No mistake. I lowered my head, remembering that Fiona's name once filled me with warmth, but now it just hurt. Taking a deep breath, I tried to bury the pain and quietly said, "Thanks for telling me. Maybe it's fate. Some ties are never meant to last." Feeling less regret after seeing my buddy, I prepared for a life I'd always wanted. As for that SIM card, I went straight to the store and canceled it without hesitation. I booked a flight to J City online. It was time to go home. In the afternoon, I started cleaning up the place. I packed up everything related to me from the bedroom, bathroom, living room, and threw it all away. With my suitcase in tow, I stood at the door, taking one last look at the place I'd called home for 6 years. I felt no attachment at all. Turning decisively, I headed back to J City. Once on the plane, as I looked out at the clouds, a strange calm washed over me. Those 6 years are gone, but I'll walk my own path from now on. It's been a whole week since I got home. All week, I've not given it a single thought. I've just lounged around at home enjoying good food, sleeping soundly, got a new phone, living a serene life with no interruptions. One day, as I lay in bed lazily twisting my hair, Mom came in quietly and told me, "Samuel, your grandpa says Lily from the military has some time off and wants to meet you." I turned to her, a little annoyed. "Mom, are you that eager for me to get married?" Mom's expression turned serious. She looked right at me. "Samuel, be honest. Did Fiona do something to upset you? Why do you ask that?" I asked, surprised. "I know you too well. You were dead set on being with her. It's been 6 years, and suddenly you want to come home. How can I not get curious about that?" Mom sighed. I shook my head. "Mom, she and I just aren't meant to be. She's not my future, and there's really nothing more to say." "All right, I won't push you," she relented. "As long as you've thought it through. Now get up and get ready. You're meeting her this afternoon." Okay, I nodded. At 3 in the afternoon, Grandpa, Dad, and Mom were all at home, waiting for this woman who was supposedly going to meet me. I was curious about what kind of person would choose such a traditional way to meet. At exactly 3, she showed up at the door, and I was at a loss for words. She had a straight posture and projected an indescribable air of confidence and grace. Even dressed neatly in her military uniform, with epaulets glistening in the sun, she looked impressive. Walking in with steady steps, every move she made was strong, radiating the pride and dignity of a soldier. She greeted Grandpa first. "Grandpa, how have you been?" Grandpa laughed heartily. "I've been doing great. It's been a while since you came to visit, hasn't it? Let me introduce you." He grabbed my hand, introducing her. "This is Samuel, my grandson. Samuel, this is Lily, the youngest major." Lily? The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Samuel?" She spoke softly, and her voice was so pleasing, I looked up at her eyes, and, in that moment, all the women I'd known paled in comparison. "Lily, don't scare Samuel. Why are you always so reckless?" came a gentle voice from behind her. I turned to see a woman around my mom's age, but she seemed kinder. My mom joyfully introduced me. "See, this is our Samuel. Doesn't he look just like you did back then, with those great genes you passed on?" Of course, my mom replied proudly. "Samuel, this is Lily's mom." "Hi, nice to meet you," I greeted softly. She smiled, handing me a gift box. "This is my gift to you." Just as I was about to refuse, that deep voice spoke again. "Take it. My mom likes you." As night fell, after dinner, Lily and I took a walk in the quiet garden. "Why did you decide to let go?" Lily's question was like a gentle breeze, softly stirring my heart. I was taken aback. "Let go of what? Why did you go along with your grandpa's plan? Is it because she let you down?" Her eyes held an emotion I couldn't quite understand. "Did Grandpa tell you I had a girlfriend?" I asked, confused. "Have you really moved on?" Lily's voice was low. 6 years. If I said I had, I wouldn't even believe myself. But I am moving forward. I sighed softly. 6 years had revealed many truths to me. Lily gazed at me, suddenly asking, "Do you really not remember me?" "Huh? Do we know each other?" I asked, puzzled. There was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. "Do you know what this meeting means?" Of course, I nodded. "If you don't want to go through with this, I'll talk to Grandpa." "No need, I trust you because you're a soldier." "Soldiers value responsibility," I smiled back. After that night, things settled between our families, and Grandpa finally had peace of mind. The wedding was set for 7 days later. As soon as the invites were printed, I shot a text to my buddy Philip. "Getting married next week. Can you come?" "Of course, I'll be there. Best man suits on me." "It better be," he joked. "I'm asking for time off now. By the way, should I let Fiona, that jerk, know? And tell her why? She's probably busy with Jimmy now." The thought amused me, and I picked up my phone to call. Sure enough, I heard rapid breathing on the other end. I could imagine what she was up to. "Hello, who's this?" Her voice sounded weary. "Fiona, I'm getting married next week. Want to come?" I asked calmly. Fiona hesitated and then said, "Samuel, a wedding next week is short notice, and I'm out of town on business. Can we talk when I get back? And why is your number different?" I let out a small laugh, all right. Without waiting for her to continue, I hung up the phone, a sarcastic smile forming on my lips. She had no idea my wedding next week wasn't with her. Calling her was just to let her know I was getting married. What she thought about it wasn't my concern. I deleted the call record without hesitation and blocked unknown numbers from calling. That day, Lily came to pick me up to try on my wedding dress. Sitting in her car, gazing at the blur of scenery rushing past, I felt unusually calm. "If you regret this, there's still time to back out," she softly said. "What? Worried I'd run away?" I teased. "No, just worried you'll regret it," Lily replied gently. I raised an eyebrow. Who would regret marrying the youngest and most promising major in the military district? I bet others would be envious. Hearing that, Lily smiled warmly. "Samuel, you should smile more." "Lily, you really don't have a boyfriend or someone you like?" I asked. It seemed odd. She had everything going for her. No way she was single. "There is someone." She glanced at me but didn't continue. I didn't press further. We went to try on my wedding dress, took wedding photos, and Lily even helped pick out a ring for me. At that moment, I thought life like this was quite good. The day before the wedding, just as I was about to head out, my phone rang. It was Philip. He informed me Fiona might have come to J-City and might look for me. Sure enough, as soon as I stepped out, I bumped into Fiona. Her eyes were panicked. She rushed towards me, grabbing my wrist, her voice trembling as she asked, "Samuel, why did you change your number and even your avatar?" I chuckled lightly, my gaze icy. Asking now, 2 weeks after? "Fiona, don't you think this is all quite ironic?" Fiona was clearly shocked, staring blankly. The day before, Philip had come to her, telling her I was getting married. "What wedding?" she asked, puzzled. Philip let out a mocking laugh. "What? Are you deaf? Philip, you? She started, but Philip cut her off. Fiona, you're truly something else. Samuel was with you for 6 years, and this is how you treat him? Do you think you're worthy? Philip accused angrily. Fiona stood stunned. What did I do? Philip pulled out his phone, showing her photos and voice recordings, firing them all at her. Don't think about disturbing Samuel anymore. He's getting married. Samuel, Samuel, Fiona nervously cried out. I jerked my wrist free, shrugged off my coat, and tossed it into a trash bin nearby without hesitation. Fiona's face went pale instantly. Samuel, I don't want anything to do with you, not even a bit, I said, coldness in my voice. Why? She persisted. Fiona, don't you get it? 6 years with me, wasn't it tiring? Pretending to break up with Jimmy, sneaking around with him, it must have been exhausting, right? I enunciated each word. So from now on, we're both free. If it was tiring, let's return to square one and live our own lives. Her pupils contracted sharply. What do you mean by that? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Wasn't I clear enough? Oh, and I'm getting married. I asked if you wanted to come to my wedding. Since you're already here, why not have a drink to celebrate? Fiona clearly didn't expect that the wedding I mentioned wasn't with her. Weren't we getting married? She asked, confused. You didn't want to marry me, so why should I force you? Someone else wants to, I replied coldly. Samuel, let me explain, she pleaded. Let go. I snapped, cutting her off. Her grip on my wrist was painful. Just as I was about to kick her away, someone rushed over and kicked her to the ground. Fiona fell, clutching her stomach. The force must have been significant. Turning, I saw Lily standing before me and asked in surprise, wasn't it supposed to be at 10? Why are you here so early? Let me see your hand. She frowned. I stretched out my hand for her to check. After looking it over, her frown deepened, her face displeased. The moment Fiona saw Lily, fear filled her eyes. Lily, the youngest major in J-City. Everyone knows about her achievements. Lily? Fiona mumbled. Lily's gaze was sharp as a blade, her voice stern. Do you know who I am? Why, yes, Fiona answered, trembling. Good, Lily said coldly. Since you know me, let me make it clear, Samuel is mine now. Stop trying to get close to him. Fiona fled hastily. Lily, with a steely expression, made a phone call. Yes, that's right, it's Fiona. I don't ever want to see her again. I was curious about what would happen next, but Lily just smiled and didn't answer. Seeing that, I didn't press further. As night fell, Philip arrived as planned, and I had him stay at my place. Samuel, I looked closely at the invitation today and realized your bride is Lily? Philip's voice was filled with excitement. I smiled slightly. What? Is she your new idol now? No way. Don't you remember her? Philip looked at me in surprise. I scratched my head. Who? Lily. Do you remember when we went on that trip 8 years ago and ran into those robbers? There was a woman in military uniform who saved us. Philip explained. As he talked, I vaguely remembered, but I couldn't connect that image to Lily. You're not going to tell me that was Lily, are you? I asked, surprised. That's exactly who it was. You were grinning, flashing those big white teeth, saying she was pretty and asking her name, and whether she had a boyfriend. Philip was laughing uncontrollably. No way. Are you sure it was me who asked, and not you? I was half skeptical. Philip rolled his eyes at me. I'm sure it was you who asked. I widened my eyes, just marveling at how amazing fate can be. After Philip fell asleep, I went back to my room and called Lily. What's up? Can't sleep? Are you nervous? She asked softly over the phone, her voice comforting me instantly. I cleared my throat and asked, Lily, did we know each other before? There was silence on the other end for a moment, and then she gently asked, what do you think? I think we probably knew each other, at least from 8 years ago. Lily, have you been plotting against me since then? I joked. She was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Yeah, I've been plotting against you for a long time. But what about my past? I wasn't there for the last 6 years, but for the many more years to come, I'll be there with you. Did you agree to the family's arrangement because of? I asked cautiously. Because of you. She responded without hesitation. The next day, the wedding went off as planned. I arranged a makeup artist and hairstylist for Lily, and they carefully crafted her look. In the mirror, she looked like she'd been sculpted by an artist. Her cheeks with a faint blush like clouds in the morning glow. Her lashes gently fluttered, like butterflies about to take flight. I wore the black tuxedo she had tailored for me, fitting perfectly. Grandpa, full of contentment, said, "Lily, you and Samuel take good care of each other. That's what matters most." "Grandpa," my voice caught a bit. "Today is your big day, so be happy and don't cry." Grandpa consoled. "Yeah, I know." I nodded. The wedding took place at the military compound, a decision made after Lily sought my opinion. She said the compound was full of people who watched her grow up, many of them her comrades, her brothers. She wanted them to witness our happiness. The compound was bustling with enthusiastic guests. Our major is finally getting married. Seeing these warm-hearted and sincere soldiers, a smile gradually spread across my face. The wedding officiant was a highly esteemed senior officer. Deeply moved, he said, "Being here to witness this happy moment for these two kids is a great honor. I wish you happiness and a large family." "Congratulations," the guests echoed, "wishing you a long and prosperous life together." Cheers resonated through the crowd. "Major, kiss her, kiss her," the guests jeered. "Kiss her," they chanted in unison. I looked down at Lily, eyes full of tenderness, seeking her permission. She bashfully looked down, her cheeks slightly flushing, and nodded softly. I leaned down and tenderly kissed her lips. At that moment, I felt a shiver like touching electricity. The warmth of her lips made my heart race. She whispered in my ear, "Samuel, thank you for being by my side." I whispered back, "Lily, thank you too, for helping me find where I belong and peace in my heart."